I'm Ashton from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have Relakar, co-founder and CEO of Arcana Network. Meyer, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
No, I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me here, Ashton.
Yeah, likewise. I've seen Arcana around for many years, and I'm excited to finally have you guys on the show. I know the mainnet's in full action, and there's a lot of traction going on in the community. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about what is the latest that you guys have been up to. But I'd love to kick off our conversation with a high-level overview for those who aren't familiar with Arcana on what exactly is the network, and then we'll dive into all the details.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. At Arcana, our goal is to kind of essentially significantly impact and improve user experiences in the Web3 space. We've been, I think, all of us in one way or another have been victims of like really bad UX in one way or another, however small or large the damage may have been. And this is something that we care deeply about, and it goes back to our backgrounds, of course, but this is something that we like taken upon us to essentially fix. And how we intend to do this is basically build the first blockchain that is focused purely on resolving and improving, in fact, user experiences in Web3.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's some major hurdles to be jumped over in terms of the user experience and user interfaces, not just for people that aren't involved in, they're non-technical and they're trying to figure out how to use something for the first time, but also for advanced users, just trying to figure out how to do things safely and not accidentally, not understanding what you're doing and losing funds or clicking on the wrong thing. I feel like that's been a major issue. Do you see progress being made since, sort of what you would call the Wild West in crypto in the past few years, since the last major hype cycle, that there actually have been improvements in the industry overall?
Yeah, no, significant improvements for sure. We've seen, many people even call out all like a lot of activities that we in the crypto space have now, given the fact that many of us have been here like 2, 3 years and have gotten kind of used to how things work here. But it just shows our apathy towards like new users who come in and they have to kind of experience all of these intimidating interfaces and trying to figure out all of these things before they could even do one single operation on any of these Web3 applications. So that is something that has improved, and people are definitely calling that out, and people are now saying trade-offs are okay. And I think this is coming from the fact that, Web3 hasn't really seen the sort of adoption that we all hoped for. And we know is truly possible. And that needs to change. So I think although there have been improvements, I think we are still very early. I think if we want people to kind of, be able to experience and use applications that they would find useful on a day-to-day basis, I think we have some ways to go there.
Definitely. And I feel like one of the most important aspects for the user experience is the wallet. It sort of comes down to the heart of it is, that's where your funds are. That's how you're going to interact with the Web3 world. How much importance does Arcana put on the wallet side?
The wallet is front and center with what we do. It's the way we are a business-to-business sort of like platform. Our products are more developer-facing than they are end-user-facing. But the wallet is the one piece that developers end users of applications actually get to experience, and this is the Arcana wallet. So just to kind of dive a little bit deep into that, is our flagship product is actually our authentication SDK. It's called Arcana Auth. And what it does is developers can integrate this app, this SDK into their apps fairly simply. But once they do that, their users can now sign into these apps with just their emails or social accounts, whether it's Twitter, Twitch, Discord, you name it. And what Arcana, the network, does is gives these users a non-custodial wallet right within the app. So now users don't have to go and install third-party extensions, figure out what seed phrases are, figure out how to manage all of this. That entire rabbit hole that you need to kind of go down if you don't know what a wallet is, God forbid. That is something that we eliminate, and we think there are a whole host of use cases, perhaps just outside of like the DeFi world, whether it's Web3 social, NFTs, gaming, all of those sorts of places where we're seeing a lot of developers, trying to reach outside of crypto natives to become their users, and that's where Arcana Auth fits in quite well. So this is something that we focused on for the past 6 to 8 months, and now we're slowly branching out into some of the other products that we're looking to kind of push.
That's great to hear, and I feel like Web3 social will be a big game changer when it takes off, and I feel like it's a balance between having people stuck in the sort of older current social media platforms and they want to onboard to Web3. I feel like the true Web3 natives want to have the wallet and the Web3 ID as sort of the native. They don't want to stick to their old email addresses in Web2, but I don't know if that's really realistic. I feel like it is a good onboarding to be able to build a wallet, but then sort of connect back so that you can slowly make the transition into more Web3. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so for us, it's very clear that self-custody is where it should be at. But that's just so hard today. And it feels like, every one of us who's a crypto native today has gone on this journey. And now we just expect everyone to kind of make that leap just on the basis of the fact that a bunch of us have. And that's just simply not how it works, because users just will simply not care about your app or, all the wonderful things that you may have behind your login screen if the first thing they have to do is connect wallet and they have no clue what that means or what that is. And it would do us and serve us very well if we kind of, actually took the evolutionary route instead of the revolutionary route and actually handheld people through that journey and make them sort of go through almost everything that we did at a slightly faster pace. But at the same time, get them past that first screen and let them start interacting with your app and see all this wonderful stuff that you potentially have to offer.
And building a wallet that is user-friendly is great, but then connecting into sort of the current blockchain ecosystems that aren't very user-friendly, I feel like there might be some hurdles there. And from what I understand, Arcana Network has built out an entire Web3 infrastructure with the network and the ability to build user-friendly applications and the whole spectrum. Can you talk about what exactly are all the functionalities, and did you really have to rebuild everything in blockchain to make it all sort of work in synchronicity?
We didn't have to rebuild, but we had to do a lot of work. I mean, we took our fair time, and many would say that we did it at our own detriment, and they'd have fair arguments to say that. But the kind of things that we were building are all so steeped in things like applied cryptography and making the right set of abstractions, having the right architecture, and those sorts of things. And these are things that you simply can't rush. I mean, we could have, but we'd probably put out a substandard product. So that's something that we've been very thoughtful about in general, and trying to ensure that whatever we build has to be safe and secure to at least the degree that is acceptable for, and the trade-offs are essentially acceptable. And that focus has led us to this point where we are now looking to not only put out one product, but put out a suite of products, all of which can be used together independently. So it's like a modular stack of tools. And the idea is that if we improve the developer experience, then I think we can see a higher class of apps getting built in the space. And if we see a higher class of apps, then we could potentially start looking at mass adoption. Because simply just, putting out wallets and throwing out incentives is not really going to be the way forward to kind of, getting millions or perhaps billions of people using the things that we do on a daily basis.
It's a great point, Mayur, because if there's a wallet and everyone has a wallet, but there's no applications to interact with, or maybe there's only one DeFi application, then you're not really going to be able to have more mainstream adoption. Obviously, having applications that are easy to build and easy to use in all the different industries, especially ones that aren't, you wouldn't first think that they would connect into Web3, the real mainstream use cases. I think that's really what's going to drive adoption. But for that to happen, they need to be able to have developers come in and develop those applications easily. I'm curious on the process that you and your team set out for the developers and how they can build apps with low barriers to entry and not have to learn new languages and such, so that apps can be developed more abundantly.
So what we did essentially was we said we're not going to tie ourselves to one sort of blockchain or one ecosystem. We're going to build like our own sort of like app chain. And what this allows us to be agnostic to any sort of builder in any sort of ecosystem, with despite their whatever like tribal influences that they may be exposed to. So this is something that we decided early on, and once we made that decision, it obviously took us a little longer to kind of bootstrap everything and build everything from scratch. We had to make choices with regards to what research papers we need to look at, what sort of implementations that we need to kind of make, and all of these sorts of things. But this enables us to build the right sort of abstractions, even for the developers, not just the end users. And now developers can come and simply build with JavaScript, with Unity, with whether it's Swift for iOS or whether it's Kotlin for the Android. So you can be a developer in any of these places, and you could pick up one of our SDKs and simply be up and running in basically a matter of a few hours. And this is the critical part. The abstraction away for developers is the one thing that I feel that we've not done well enough in Web3, because we have these open protocols. These are maintained by communities or even the teams in a lot of cases. But many times what happens is this documentation, for example, gets ignored. And when you get stuck, people just point you to a Discord. And I mean, you then are at the mercy of the mods there or the people there to kind of come and help you out, which is great. But except when you are in an active project development environment and you need to kind of show results and move forward fast enough, you can't be stuck in these sorts of ways. So what we do is we interface heavily with all the apps that are kind of working with us. It's very hard to scale this because it requires specific individuals from the team to actually go and start interfacing with each and every one of these people. We consult with them. We try and figure out what they're trying to build, how they're trying to build it, what they're trying to achieve. And we try and help them almost in a consulting capacity to kind of achieve those same goals, but faster, but in a way that is more agreeable to their users. And this comes purely from like the experiences that we've had in Web 2 and some of those engineering practices in general that have like really worked very well. There's no reason they shouldn't work here.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And what kind of applications are you seeing with the mainnet out that are actually starting to gain traction early on Arcana?
So it's all sorts of consumer apps that are looking for users outside of like the standard Web3 crypto ecosystem. This is the fact. There's this thing that people say, right? There are more chains than there are apps, and there are more apps than there are users, and it's almost like a meme today. And it's not very far from the truth. But at the same time, I think, this is what people realize, and especially gamers who are a big chunk of, our current customer base. These are mostly people coming from Web2 gaming backgrounds. They worked at studios, want to start up their own AAA studio or their own AAA game. And they are very clear. They come and say the Web2 gamers don't care about your blockchain, about your NFTs, and any of those sorts of things. They just want excellent like gameplay. But if there is an incentive layer built on top of it, all the more better. And so they want to hide away as much as possible from people. They go as far as saying that, most Web2 gamers just hate blockchain because we have that rep now that things are just so hard to use. It's so hard to kind of get past. And there've been so many of these sort of like scams and scammy projects and people showing excellent gameplay in video, but the actual gameplay just sucks. And so now these people are coming out and saying, no, we're just going to build great games. We're going to build this incentive layer. We're not going to call them NFTs. We're going to call them collectibles. We're going to let people, use things, but in a way that gives them true ownership. But all of this needs to be in the background. And when we hear people speak like that, at first it's like sacrilege. How can you say these things? The purist inside you is shouting and saying, no, the world is decentralized and, you have to click on that sign button. Otherwise, a validator node on Ethereum goes down or something like that. So, but now we've gotten so used to hearing all of this stuff that we're like, yeah, absolutely. These are the abstractions that we need today. This is the evolutionary path that we need to take. Because if we don't take people along with us, they're just going to ignore us. They're going to go past us. They're going to go around us. And that is something that we simply cannot afford.
It's a great point. And I feel like we're slowly, in the blockchain industry, breaking into Web3 gaming, going through some hurdles, realizing that, hey, yeah, it's not all about blockchain. We don't want to have to look at the transaction and the gas fees and all of the stuff every time you want to do something. But there is some value in there for sure. It's just a matter of getting it in the way that I'm guessing Arcana is really focusing on, is the user experience and the user interface, and really just almost not even noticing that there is blockchain in the back end. Looking at the Web3 gaming industry specifically, how much of a stride do you think we've taken towards getting this kind of technology integrated into AAA games, ones that already have, millions of players already playing them?
I would honestly say we still have some ways to go. And this is purely speaking from experience of having spoken to other gamers and things like that. I think we saw a huge influx of them. I think late 21, early 22, all of these people were raising insane amounts of money, and a lot of them don't exist today. And this is in part because, some of them were just bad founders, but mostly it's because people just, haven't found it to be easy to build the things that they imagined that they could be able to build, right? A lot of these people said, we are building gaming protocols and, everything is going to be on chain. And then they come in and realize, shit, that's not how it is. And that simply won't work. It won't scale. And that's when, all of these people have just been, are left sort of disillusioned to a very large extent. A lot of them have just left the space. The ones that remain are now taking an extremely pragmatic outlook and saying, we're going to use all the good things about blockchains and really, really cull all the bad things. We just simply don't want it. And if you have that to offer us, then we will build stuff. So now we are left to kind of almost prove out that we as an industry have the maturity to kind of listen to these users and say, yes, we understand where you're coming from. There are ways in which we could make the right set of trade-offs. We're going to push the boundaries when it comes to, say, things like applied cryptography to help create the right sort of abstractions and really deliver on this front. And I think we've reached that point as an industry where people are now saying, yeah, it's okay not to have seed phrases in wallets, or wallets without seed phrases and all those sorts of things. So those sorts of narratives almost nobody complains about today. So I think we are at that point now where we listen, and now is when we need to kind of build the tooling out, and there are lots of great people doing great stuff. And I think it's going to be a matter of time where we're going to see the turnaround.
Very exciting. And another different type of application that I saw on Arcana Network being featured is one that probably has even bigger than the gaming industry, is to do with email. I feel like there's a transition of, everyone's on email, but not a lot of people are integrating the blockchain or the functionality that it could possess with integrating money into it as well. I saw an application called Sendit on Arcana Network. Can you talk about that and what exactly that's doing to revolutionize email?
Yeah, I mean, this is case in point. where if I may say so in all modesty, of building a useful app with incentives can really take you very, very far. And this is something that we've learned. And so I'll just tell you like the backstory for Sendit, right? So we are a B2B platform that aims to become a public good, which is why we have a token. We want everything to be as decentralized and permissionless, but that's a journey for us, and that's how we're looking at it. But because we're building developer tooling, it's not exactly something that say someone who holds our token is going to fully understand and realize because they simply can't interact with it. So what we told ourselves is we're going to give away for our community who's eventually going to hold our token to be able to interface with us. And what we're going to do is we're going to build small low-touch products on top of our infrastructure, on top of our tooling, on top of our SDKs. And we're just going to run this as small experiments, put them out there. Any apps that we can build and release in 2 weeks was the limits that we set ourselves, are what we're going to put out there. And so we decided to we chanced upon this idea of saying, why don't we try and do PayPal for crypto, right? So PayPal back in the day was a way in which you could actually make payments or send monies to an email ID. I said, why can't we just do it for crypto? And so that was the idea. So one of our devs hacked together like a small POC in half a day because of the infrastructure and the tooling that we already had built. It made it easy to be able to do that. Then we spent the 2 more weeks to kind of put in all the bells and whistles and make it all fancy. And we said, yeah, perfect. Let's put it out there. And we set ourselves a lofty goal of saying, let's try and get 50,000 users in 2 months. And but to our surprise, we got 50,000 users in 6 days. We got 100,000 in 12. And we are currently 9 weeks in, and we have close to 500,000 users who've done upwards of 1.8 million 1.8 million transactions on Sendit. And what Sendit is very simple. I just need to know your email, and I can send you crypto across different kinds of cryptocurrencies across multiple chains, and you don't even need to know what Sendit is or be a Sendit user yourself. And so we did that, and we are gobsmacked ourselves, right? So all of this happened, and we saw all this influx of users. We would have sleepless nights because emailer services would ban us because of the sheer volumes that we would do. We were finding it very hard to keep up with payments. We maxed out every plan of ours that we had with every service provider that we had. Maxed out credit cards, you name it. But the great thing was our back end, the Arcana Network itself actually stood up well, and it never went down. So that was something that, we take a lot of pride in, the fact that, despite having like several thousand concurrent users at any point in time, we were still kind of holding up very well. So, so that now has puts us in like this awkward spot because we never really imagined that we'd have to include Sendit in our roadmap. But now we've seen all of this stuff happen, how a very simple, useful app baked in with the right set of incentives can actually attract like a significant audience, or at least help you bootstrap it, right? And then once you do that, maybe like us, we're now starting to get very greedy and start saying, okay, now how do we go to and 5x this, right? So that's where we are right now with Sendit.
Wow, that's incredible growth, and it's great to hear that you're breaking the email servers on something that's going viral in Web3. And so now looking forward, how do you 5x this, or what potentially could you do to bring this to tens of millions of people?
Yeah, I think the base premise of Sendit is simple. It's payments, right? So it's payments you can make, it's payments you can request, it's payments you can receive. These are all like different sorts of ways in which this can happen. But our go-to market from here is something that we feel like, we need more help than we can muster internally. I think this is something that we need to kind of co-build with multiple players within the ecosystem. And for that, we need like one narrative for Sendit that everyone can get behind. And so the narrative that we are actually choosing to adopt right now, instead of saying, oh, this is the Cash App, this is Venmo for crypto or something like that. And we could go down that direction. But we feel, this is something that can be greater than just a Cash App. And we currently feel like this can be a way in which we can actually start to onboard more and more people to crypto. Because if you think about it, one of the best ways to onboard a non-crypto native to crypto is if you send them some, right? So that's a great first step. And typically when, let's say, Ashton, you had a friend or a relative who really isn't very crypto savvy and you wanted to kind of get them onto crypto, you'd probably send them some ETH or some SOL or whatever it is. But this, you sending them anything is always prefaced by probably an hour-long conversation around wallets and which wallet and getting them to install it and telling them, how this seed phrase is more important than their life itself. And, that they need to go bury a ditch 10 feet deep and, hide this piece of paper there and mark it out and tell their, progeny in the future that this is where it is and things like that, right? So with Sendit, we eliminate all of that. You just log in with your email, you have a wallet, right? And so now we've solved the first part of onboarding someone to crypto, which is, they come in, they get a wallet. I can send you some crypto, and now you have crypto sitting in a wallet that you own and control. So now the next part of this is getting this person who's received this crypto to do something with it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, completes like the loop. That's when you can say, okay, this person is onboarded. So what we are looking to do here on is to work with existing protocols, projects, to be able to say, hey, hey, Ashton, I've sent you like 0.5 ETH. And you come to this page where you kind of discover these different things where you can now decide to do maybe your first swap on Uniswap, maybe your first lending onto Aave. You buy your first NFT, or you buy your first Lens ID, or you try your first Web3 dApp, or you just off-ramp it to cash and say, I just want my $700, $800, $900. And these are the things that we want to kind of work with multiple people to kind of enable. And if we do that, I think this can be a great way for people to kind of get onboarded. You can start making these payments to friends and family, then potentially to your neighborhood cafe, stores, etc., and then perhaps beyond that as well. So yeah, that's how we're looking to kind of grow this from here, and hopefully that will get us the 5x.
That's incredible, and it really saves a lot of steps compared to having to set up the wallet. But you're right about sort of the step after that. Okay, I have some crypto, but like, what do I do with it? To actually stay in the ecosystem. I do have friends and family that have gotten a few dollars, and then they have it in their wallet, but then they're like, well, I guess I'll just wait for it to go up. I don't really know how to interact or get an NFT. But I feel like having a good user interface and user experience through Arcana could break those barriers to actually get new entrants into the industry to actually become active and then start interacting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully concur. And I think, again, in all modesty, I think we can make it possible, but there's only so far we can go. I think we need it's like the proverbial child in the village, and you require the whole village to raise the child. And I think that's the approach that we want to take. We want to take the more composable approach. I think the Web3 is the whole ecosystem works very well when more people come together. And this is something that we want to be able to do with multiple people and potentially make it bigger than it can be.
And what's the best way for people to learn about Sendit and also to explore in the Arcana ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, you could do multiple things. One is just go to our website. We have we just have links for you to be able to kind of set up calls with our business development teams. If you want to talk to the tech team, you can just mention it in the comments. We'll get the tech team involved. If you want to talk to the business team will get involved, product team, whoever you want to talk to, no problem. You can DM any one of us. So we are Arcana.network, and everything can flow from there. You'll find links to our Discord, which is more developer focused. You'll find links to our Telegram, which is more community focused. There's of course our Twitter. DMs are open for the actual Twitter handle or any of the anyone on the team, literally. And that's the best way you can actually kind of reach out to us. And nobody should feel shy about trying to talk to us about anything. It could be you with just your idea that you want to kind of try and figure out or see through. We'll give you very positive, constructive criticism if necessary, or just tell you that your app's fantastic, you should go ahead. We'll help you kind of figure out those things also. So it really does not matter. Anything you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
except for any advice around trading, because we don't trade. We absolutely suck at trading. We have no clue when markets are going to go up, go down. None of that.
Definitely. And yeah, you never know when half-day proof of concept is going to turn into an application with millions of users.
Yeah.
Incredible, Mayur. Well, thank you so much for your insights into Arcana Network, the gaming industry, Sendit. I will leave the links to the website, the platform, and the social links that you mentioned as well in the notes below. All the best with everything moving forward with all the applications and everything in the Arcana ecosystem. And let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here on your channel and speak about Arcana. It's been a true labor of love for us to kind of build this. It's been like almost like a 3-year journey now, but it's all coming to fruition. And I wouldn't say logical conclusion because we still have a long ways to go from here. But at least things are shaping up fantastically well. And, thank you again for giving us this opportunity, and hopefully we get to work again together very soon.